everyone, welcome to another Animation Friday, and today I thought it would be interesting to briefly address my favorite funny animated characters from film. So this is all going to be a list of movie film characters that are animated and that I find to be hilarious, and I will be sure to make a list of ones that are within television as well, and I'll maybe separate it out between the adult animation and then the kid animation. So this one is going to be mainly focused on kid animation since largely the majority of animated films are for children, but I hope to do another list that covers more adult-oriented content and then do other animated funny characters that are from television and so on and so forth. So without further ado though, let me discuss these characters and why I think they're hilarious. I wanted to briefly address is Hades from Hercules. Now I think a lot of people find this villain in particular to be one of the more funnier Disney villains, and I would definitely agree. I think regardless of whether or not you think Hercules is a good film, for Disney, I think that his character works off well to the audience. He has these instances of rage that I find to be so hilarious and really well timed, I think, too. He and it's a different kind of rage, and it's kind of a rage that I like and that I find more funny than, for example, the childish rage that the Queen has from Alice in Wonderland. I think that his rage is just so purely like evil, especially when he's showcasing the fire and the flames. It really gives off a different mood to the audience, and I think as a result, I think it just becomes funny because he's just so full of anger that his plans keep failing, and I think that kind of rage, the one that's not pouty, but of I can't believe, like, I tried everything, and like it just this pure rage that's not really focused on trying to be whiny, I think is a lot more hilarious and I think really works for this character. Uh, and I think even though the side villains, again, Pain and Panic, they're really not all that strong side characters or side villains, but at the same time, his reactions to the things that they end up doing, and the things that Meg ends up doing, just his pure fits of rage are they're just fun to watch. I find him so entertaining. And I like too how when he's really calm and collected, he kind of does sound a little bit like a lawyer or a salesman or somebody. He doesn't sound like a Greek god, and I think that's something that just makes him so fascinating. And that's why I think he's really funny. Also, I think he gets a lot of good lines. There are just some scenes where things are happening and I just laugh, especially when he's interacting in particular with Meg. Especially when she starts falling for Hercules, and then she tries to defend him, and claim that he's a good person or whatnot, and sort of justify her falling for him, and just the way that Hades reacts is just so funny. He's just like, please, he's a god. It's just so great. He just knows how to play well with the audience and interact well with the characters. And I think that's why he gives off this huge presence within the film. And there's also a menacing aspect about him too. He's not just all laughs and giggles. He's also very intimidating, especially when he at one point, even uses Meg as sort of bait for Hercules. I mean, he does some pretty cruel, nasty things too. So I think there's more to him than being a comedic a comedic character, and I think that gives him a little bit more depth. Um, but I really do like when he has his fits of rage. I do love that he has a huge presence. I like how he just kind of talks really fast and quick and snappy, and he kind of just sort of gets to the point. And I kind of, again, too, like his sort of bluntness, and you know, I kind of, and the interesting thing too is I think this movie really makes us not necessarily, I guess we would say, sympathetic to Hades, but we do kind of laugh along with him because we do kind of understand, the kind of crazy, God world he lives in, and you kind of uh, get that impression in the way beginning when he goes up to visit Zeus, and they're kind of acting um, all full of themselves, and Hades is just like, if only, he just sees in through these other gods' stupidity, and I think that's what makes him funny is he's smart, but he just fails every time, and the rage that comes out of that failure, I think, is I guess what we would call Schadenfreude. And in case you don't know what that word means, basically it's a German word for laughing at other people's misfortunes. And I sort of laugh at Hades' misfortunes throughout the film, and I think that's a really good effect when you can do that with a villain. And I just think he nails it off really well, or nails it down really well. So I think that's really all I can say about that character. There's just lots of little bits within the film that I think really do showcase his uh, his his comedic abilities, and I think it's definitely one of those things where the villain ends up being sort of the defining characteristic of the film. And I would say Hercules probably has probably one of the funnier Disney villains, because I personally think he works himself off really well. But I think that's really all I can say about him. I'm going to be moving on now to the villains in The Emperor's New Groove. Now I'm talking about Kronk and Yzma. Those two are hilarious. They just work and play off each other so unbelievably well. Um, the reason why these two are funny and why they come off, I think, as funny is because we have shenanigans that end up happening within the film to them because they're villains, and what shenanigans, don't happen to villains within animated films. Sort of similar to Hades, you see them failing constantly. Um, and I think that really works to a comedic effect for Yzma because she's not really a funny villain. Like, she doesn't get really any funny lines, but she plays off into the shenanigans and with Kronk so well that you can't help but laugh at her for the things that end up happening to her, the sorts of circumstances that she gets into, and kind of Kronk going along for the ride. That's what I think works off really well. It's just these characters, they just bounce off and know how to uh, make a scene funny. And the reason why I would say both of them are funny, despite Yzma not really being necessarily a funny character, but being pushed into circumstances that make her a funny character. Kronk is just all around funny because of his naivete. Um, he is the one that often causes shenanigans to happen to Yzma, and they sort of play off each other in that way. And then there's a lot of funny line exchanges. This isn't really a standalone. These two kind of blend together to make Yz Krunk or Krunkza or something. It's almost like they're playing sort of one entity because one can't be funny without the other. It's almost that well blended, and again, this is where we get the great dialogue exchanges, the great lines that come out of the film. largely are when they are together as companions trying to defeat the hero. And that's what I find to be so much fun to watch. It's hilarious, these two, when they're together. And, you know, they just play off one another so well. And, you know, when she sends lines like, pull the lever trunk, wrong lever, you know, the scene couldn't work without Krunk, and the scene couldn't work without Yzma giving the bits of dialogue. So again, those little bits and moments really do work. And I think uh, it's definitely something that works to the character's advantage. Now, this isn't just them being together, but also when they're interacting with other characters, it also, I think, works itself out fairly well. For example, when all of the uh, guards, I think, they're all transformed into animals. And then they're like to Yzma, hey, I'm a cow. Can I go home now? And then she's like, you're excused. And she's like, does anybody else want to leave? And they're like, no, we'll go. It's just so insanely funny. It's just innocent fun humor, and I enjoy it for that. So I think it's definitely something that really makes this film stand out is the villains, and similar to Hercules, where we have them being the funniest moments of the film and being the most entertaining, I think, out of the film. So, without further ado, let me discuss another animated character that I think is rather hilarious. Edna from The Incredibles. Now, I understand she's not in the film for a whole lot of time. She's not given that a whole lot of development. But despite that, I really admire how passionately funny she is, especially when she's really into her designs and fashion. And what I find to be funny about her is just her sheer honesty and bluntness. She doesn't sugarcoat anything. She just kind of goes all out there, and you know, literally when the Mr. Incredible goes to see her again for like, I guess it was years and years since he's seen her, she the first thing she literally says to him is, "My God, you look fat." And that kind of honesty and that kind of directness, I just find to be so funny. And you know, when she's telling Miss Incredible to, you know, like pull herself together, and you know, she just has a lot of fire in her, and I think that's just so entertaining to watch. I think it's really a fun character, and just someone that you can kind of laugh at. And I think that's something that's very um, interesting about her is even though she's not given that whole amount of screen time, there's still a lot of character that comes out of her because she really presents herself with such traits that you can't help but sort of laugh at her presence. And I like how she has this accent, and that she kind of just, you know, brushes things off like, I know, darling, I know. I never look back. And she's just she's just all out there, and I think there's a lot more to her character than just being funny. And I think that's when you know that you've made something fairly memorable. And I think a lot of people like her character, and I think she was actually inspired by an actual fashion designer. At least I think that's the who I guess they made her look like her. So that's kind of where their inspiration came from, and I think that really works to the film's advantage, even though she's not given a whole amount of screen time. And again, her line of no capes and how it ends up playing an actual role in the film, I think is just brilliant writing right there, and I think works, and you suddenly remember the character because of that uh, line that she says and how it plays a role into the film. So definitely a character I enjoy watching, and enjoy watching those scenes where she's in the film. The next one that I wanted to briefly talk about is Maximus from Tangled. I really enjoy this character for, he's probably my favorite funny character for mime kind of old school, um, animal uh, character. Usually mime stuff with humans and other animals. I think it has been done in the past with films like Pocahontas and whatnot. And even though I find those little bits between Miko and the bulldog to be funny, I think Maximus kind of stands out on his own. I find it funny how at points he acts kind of like a dog. it's kind of hilarious. Like Rapunzel will say like "good boy" or whatever, and then he'll just wag his tail like a dog. So I think that just kind of says something when your film can literally give off sort of two animals in one. Um, and there's a lot of moments where he does play off with the other characters, in particular Flynn Rider, which I think really do serve well um, in regards to being comedical, especially when there's really no dialogue exchange, just all visual humor. And I think that's a really important aspect of animation. And I think this film is the one that I think nailed that comedy out really well. And I think the horse just really stands out for being funny and being just very out there and having a lot of personality despite the fact that he can't talk. Um, and it'd be nice to see more of this sort of old school visual humor because I don't think we've seen it a whole lot, at least from more current films. And usually um, when they're animals, they're kind of shoved into the background. Reindeer from Frozen. So it's nice to see that this kind of a character is given a little bit more depth and exploration, and as a result becomes one of the most funniest things that happens and is one of the most funniest characters in the film. Now, that's all I think I can say about Maximus, but the next one that I wanted to talk about is the one that I think everybody knows and everybody loves. And yes, I agree that I think he holds up as being fairly hilarious. And that is the genie from Aladdin. It's Robin Williams, first and foremost, but at the same time, there's still a character to the genie. So it's not like, um, even though Robin Williams is playing him, there's still sort of some development with the character, and you do sort of get an exploration of the genie's sort of journey. And that's, I think, something that's important to do with your comedic characters is to give them a sense of depth. And I think when the genie is interacting, in particular with Aladdin, we do get the funniest moments and the funniest bits. Um, and I think that plays in well to the relationship that they have and that they try to set up with. Because ultimately you do see this friendship develop even towards the end of the film, and you know the wish that sort of Aladdin gives the genie at the end, I think is just really touching, um, and you really do feel like those funny moments and those uh, genuine senses of joy that they had together as characters really do give you a sense of the feels, I think, at the end of the film. And I think a lot of that has to do with trying to be comedical and trying to be very fast paced. So I think it works to the film's advantage for the most part. So, yes, I think The Genie is definitely one that remains to be one of the funniest. Now, the last one that I wanted to talk about is actually one that's kind of low on the radar, I think, for a lot of people because he's not in the film for all that long, but when he's there, he's just so insane. It's hilarious. And that's Chef Louis from The Little Mermaid. Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about this guy. He is so insane. Like, I love how insane this guy is. The first thing you see, like literally in the of him in the film, you see like all his great chef creations, and then Sebastian just looks at it all and just goes, "Oh no." He just looks like he walked into like a horror house, and you just see Chef Louis just starting to sing and be all passionate, and then he's just chopping up fish, and he's just so into it. It's just so funny. And then just to see Sebastian's reaction to just how crazy and insanely passionate Chef Louis is for cooking, you just can't help but laugh. I just love how insane this guy is. It's great. Um, his accent, his accent on top of that, having a French accent makes it even more hilarious. Like I just every time he goes les poissons, he ho ho ho, it just makes me, it just cracks me up because he's just so into what he's doing, and you feel the French um coming off of him, at least that's how I feel. And I just love how he just has that mustache, and he's just so entertaining to watch. And when he's playing off Sebastian, like when he figures out where he is, and he tries to, get him, it just cracks me up just how insane he is into trying to get this one crab. He's just like, "Oh, I found one of you." And he just goes all out, and I just think that's hilarious. And you know and the even other people's reaction, like when the other maid comes in and she's like, "What the heck are you doing in here?" He's just like he's just like, "Ooh, I'm sorry, I'm not crazy, I promise." I just really love cooking. It's just great to watch. And the bits where Sebastian sort of gets his revenge at the end are also pretty hilarious. And even though it's only a few short segments, I would love to see an entire movie where Chef Louis goes up against Sebastian, and it'll be called Chef Louis and Sebastian: The Untold Stories. And just the slapstick and the funny moments that we could get out of that, I think would be worth the price of a theater admission. I mean, I just can't help but crack up when that guy is on screen, because he just gives off this very, very passionate and over the top presence that it's enjoyable. And could you say that the character's a little bit stereotypical? Yeah, but I think that's still, um, I don't think it's trying to be insulting at all. I think it's just trying to be funny, and not take itself so seriously. And I just think he's just so into it, and just so, um, just to see him go from such passionate joy into such mind-boggling rage, I think is just great, and works to the comedic advantage of the film. And I found it hilarious as a kid. I find it hilarious now. So yes, Chef Louis, you are awesome. May you one day catch the crab. Death to the crab. But I think that's really all I can say. These are all the characters that I wanted to mention. I feel that they are worthy to check out if you can catch clips of them up on YouTube. I'm sure there's a ton. Um, the whole Chef Louis song is definitely worth consideration, especially the bits where he's playing off Sebastian. I think that works really well. I'm sure the villains from The Emperor's New Groove and The Incredibles, they should be online. I think Maximus even too, and the genie obviously. So there's pretty much I think a lot of clips to go around that'll sort of showcase the talent I think that these um, these animated characters have. So uh, that's all I think I can really say. I know there might be some that I've discluded from the list, and while I do think that some of them are funny, these ones I find to be the most funny, the most engaging, the most least annoying, I'd say, because there's just something about funny, annoying characters that really doesn't appeal to me all that much, especially when they try to be loud uh or obnoxious. Like that just isn't it. That's just not really my humor. That's not really my style of humor. Um, I just like funny characters that are either completely crazy or or just very enraged or passionate. But when they're annoying or just I guess likably annoying, then I just don't find it as funny as the ones that are all out crazy. So that's just my opinion, though. I'm sure there's others that have different opinions on this, and I'd be more than happy to hear your thoughts. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a great day, week, month, and year. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.